And though I've always liked Tyra Banks, I do think the way that she did Jay, Miss J, and Nigel was very, very dirty. So let's talk about Tyra. As the show started around 2008, and she came up with the idea of going behind the scenes of the modeling industry. Being that Tyra was a model by then for about she was modeling for about 12 to 14 years as a top paid professional model, literally walking in the Victoria's Secret shows and so on. So she launched America's Next Top Model in 2003, and it was a hit. Tyra knew the industry. She had young ladies on there trying to show them what goes on behind the scenes in the modeling industry. They had to do contests, and at the end of the contest, just like any reality show that's out right now that has all these eliminations, there would be 12 girls and they would get eliminated each week, and then they would have to compete. Their competition was doing photo shoots, which was amazing. You got to see these very outlandish sets they would do, all these great ideas for themes. Then you had Miss J would teach them how to walk, and Nigel was the photographer. But after about 18 seasons of the show, it took a left turn, and Tyra decided that she had to fire her cast. Her cast was made up of Jay Manuel, who was considered like the creative director. He was always giving the direction of how the photo shoots would go, and he did a wonderful job. Miss J, again, who taught the girls how to walk the catwalk. He was known for that throughout the modeling industry and became like a cast member on Tyra's show. And then you had Nigel Barker, who was like the professional photographer who did the photography for all of the photo shoots, which was amazing. So all of these guys worked together as they did 18 cycles of America's Next Top Model, and they seemed to be pretty close according to the Netflix documentary. They all were very close and got along pretty well. But midway through the documentary, they start pointing out how Tyra was at the helm of how the girls were treated. Now, a lot of the women who were models or aspiring models, even contestant winners, talked about the conditions that they went through on the show. They complained a lot about how they were expected to do these crazy, extreme photo shoots that left them in really bad condition. Some of them suffered eating disorders. Some of them even suffered a lot of mental breakdowns. And as you were watching the show back then, because it was one of my favorite shows, I mean, everybody watched the show. You hardly missed every week of America's Next Top Model. With that being said, every season of America's Next Top Model. Tyra was just good at what she did, and you were always so excited to see what she did next because everybody rooted for Tyra by her being a black woman, a top model in the modeling industry. Actually, she was considered a supermodel, and there were not a lot of black supermodels in the modeling industry about 20 years ago. You had Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks were at the top. I mean, Tyra Banks actually was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and that was like a big deal back then. But now that we look back with all this stuff going on with like Jeffrey Epstein, it does seem a little creepy looking at things from the lens that you're looking at it now. And I have some ideas that kind of popped in my mind watching this documentary and kind of watching back with what we know now that has been going on behind the scenes of the modeling industry and the whole connection to Jeffrey Epstein and all of his billionaire friends. I mean, I can't make any accusations about Tyra, but it kind of alludes to the fact that she may have had to do some things to get to the position that she's in. I'm just saying it's all alleged, but again, based on the information we have now, it kind of has a connection, if you know what I mean. So I want to fast forward to the part toward the end where these three ended up getting fired. But prior to that, Jay Manuel speaks about how him and Tyra kind of had like a falling out. He stated that he started noticing things that went on during the show that he just was not comfortable with. So he started trying to kind of fall back and eventually wanted to let Tyra know that he wanted to leave the show. And when he did that, Tyra was very upset, had an attitude, and the producers asked him to stay with the show. He stayed for about 4 or 5 more seasons. And during the whole time he was there, him and Tyra went from being friends to being phonies. And if you were a watcher of the show, you knew that these two were like besties. But toward the end, you could tell that there was just not that chemistry that they had in the beginning of the show. It's like he was left off even the judging table when he was there in the beginning, but you could tell it got messy. But what I took away from this about Tyra, and something I didn't realize about her, is that she was so ambitious and she was just all about the money. And it just seemed like she could have compensated these guys a little bit better during the end when she had to end up firing everybody. She could have compensated them a little bit better. But this video is already long, you guys. I'm going to do a part 2, so stay tuned.